Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rodney Allen. I'm the coordinator of the Governor School Program. But right now, it is my distinct honor to introduce your keynote speaker for today. We are so lucky today to have with us Kim Jones. And Kim Jones earlier this year was named the North Carolina Teacher of the Year. And Kim attended Governor School in 2000. And she also worked at the Governor School for over a decade. She taught Area 3. She also has become somewhat of a legend as someone who's involved in moving the Governor School stuff each year. There are still things that are stamped with dedicated to Kim Jones or in honor of Kim Jones that are among the social equipment that our faculty somehow manage to keep in our storage every year. But it's an honor to know Kim. I have had the pleasure in my roles at the Governor School to get to observe her magical teaching many times. But she is emblematic of what the Governor School does, which is to open doors for people, to expand their perspective and horizons. And her going from a Governor School student to, of course, a highly successful college student, to working at the Governor School, to being a high school teacher at Chapel Hill High School, to being the North Carolina Teacher of the Year, and being a close, dear friend to me, and thank God she still takes my calls. Kim Jones, everybody.
Good afternoon. It's truly an honor to stand before you all, not only as the North Carolina Teacher of the Year, but more importantly, as a Governor School alum and a faculty member, and someone who, as we've heard so often today, whose life was changed by Governor School. Throughout my work and travels as Teacher of the Year, I exist in a really long pedigree and legacy of exceptional educators who have given sort of monumental keynotes, and I know that the bar is really high for the transformative power of a keynote. As we moved into a digital age that usually is accompanied by a wonderful Canva-produced PowerPoint, but I am an English teacher. That's not what I do. I'm very married to my words, so you're gonna hear those in the truest expression that I can give them today, which is largely in reading my words and sharing those thoughts with you. And so I apologize for the lack of technological style, but I hope that you are moved and sustained and encouraged by my substance. Today, we gather to celebrate a milestone and to commemorate 60 years of excellence, inspiration, and transformative education at the North Carolina Governor School. 60 years of shaping minds, fostering creativity, and laying the foundation for a future filled with promise and possibility. As we reflect on this remarkable journey, it's impossible not to be captivated by the legacy of the Governor School. For 6 decades, this institution has been a powerhouse of intellect, a crucible of talent, and a testament to the unwavering commitment of North Carolina to the education and development of its young people. I count as one of the greatest blessings of my life the chance to have been both a student and a faculty member within North Carolina Governor School. I know without question I would not be standing here today as the North Carolina Teacher of the Year, but for the impact and inspiration of Governor School. Now, my mom says my earliest desire to be a teacher emerged when I was roughly 3 or 4 years old on the front porch of our house. I'd line up my stuffed animals and proceed to teach them using the little golden books in my home library. I would reteach the pre-K materials that my mom would pick up from the County Cooperative Extension and Head Start offices. Now, I didn't go to preschool like many of my peers, As is the case with many working class families across our state, it was not financially feasible for my family. Instead, my parents made the decision for my dad, at that time a nursing home janitor, to work a first shift job, and my mom to work third shift in the local textile factory so that she could be at home with me during the day to teach me and in case my older brother needed her while at school. These days on the front porch of our double wide are why I will always credit my mother as my first and most important teacher. Take a quick moment at your tables to think about your own educational journey. Who would you consider your first teacher? How did they make you feel about learning? Take a quick 30 seconds and turn and talk. Who was your first teacher? How did they make you feel about learning? Okay, I'm going to use one of my classroom techniques. I try not to shush, but I will waterfall. I hope that you enjoyed that quick sort of jaunt down memory lane. I consider my mom my first teacher because she made me anticipate learning. While I don't remember the specifics of our front porch preschool, I do remember the excitement I felt at beginning to master numbers and letters and taking my first steps into reading and writing. I remember feeling empowered at beginning to learn about the world and the power of my voice within it. I remember meeting my older brother at the bus stop each afternoon, excited to tell him all that I had learned in school while hearing about his adventures at Big Kids School. I figured out really quickly, when you learned things, you had things to talk about that big people were willing to listen to. This was not an exceptional awakening by any means. The truth is, even the youngest children among us understand the essential relationship between knowledge and agency. The more we learn, the more freedom, autonomy, and respect we gain. This is why toddlers are so enamored of the question, why? I'm gonna give us a minute to make sure no children are missing or there's not a tornado coming. Gotcha. Toddlers are enamored with the question why because they understand that the world is made more accessible when they understand the systems and principles at work around them. Students are empowered by every new practice they can make sense of and every question they are allowed to ask. They are keen observers of the world in action and are constantly assessing and evaluating its fairness, justness, and the visiting of both of those principles upon themselves. If you doubt a child's ability to understand equity, watch what happens when you split a cookie unevenly between two toddlers. This truth never changes. Every day, teachers have the opportunity to equip students with new knowledge, and in doing so, expand their worlds, their access, empower their voices, and aid their quests for equity and justice. This truth is at the very core of the North Carolina Governor School. The students who pass through the classrooms and campuses of Governor School emerge not only academically enriched, but also equipped with the skills and mindsets to tackle the challenges of the present and future, and moreover, ask the difficult but necessary whys of our time. The whys that drive academic, cultural, and social change. Now, my personal earliest memory of wanting to be a teacher, or at least expressing some interest in the concept of education, came a few years later when I was officially in big kid school myself. I vividly remember asking my first grade teacher, Martha Harrington, for any leftover workbooks with unused pages that I could take home at the end of the year. Now, lest you give me credit, more credit than I deserve, this was not some grand, intrinsically motivated desire for supplemental learning materials. No, I wanted to give my play classroom a greater degree of credibility by having real worksheets to pass out to my students. Now, mind you, at this time, my students were my really gracious neighborhood friends who were willing to go along with my constant desire to play school until they got frustrated by my constant desire to be the only teacher. My friends were soon replaced with my far more amiable but inanimate learners in the form of my dolls. Unfortunately, I discovered another truth about education that the pandemic would reinforce decades later. Teaching into a silent void sucks. Our classrooms need noise. They need the noise of trial and error, of turning and talking, of inquiry and elaboration. They need the productive noise of collaboration and discussion. They need the enthusiastic noise of discovery and the supportive noise of affirmation. Even my dolls weren't made to simply sit and get. Governor School makes this truth the heart of its pedagogical practice, as students are led through dynamic, engaging, and yes, very often, noisy lessons that center their perspectives, their voices, and then encourage them to synthesize those with the perspectives and outlooks of others to create new, unique conjectures. From symphonies that challenge our sonic sensibilities to texts that force our perceptions of genre and the canon to be redefined, Governor School makes the mess of learning, and very often unlearning, a central practice that invigorates and taxes the minds of students and teachers alike. Now, eventually, other realities began to emerge that led me away from education as a career, namely, my desire to be a successful and well-paid adult. While I knew that teachers made a difference, I also knew they didn't make enough money. Sadly, this remains an unfortunate truth of my profession. Teachers are, by and large, grossly undercompensated for our professional expertise and skill. Raising teacher pay must be a priority for all educational stakeholders and our legislators alike. If we are to reach our greatest potential as a community, as a state, and a society, we have to invest in the retention of current educators and the recruitment of a diverse teacher workforce staff through robust and competitive salaries that compensate educators for their experience, their continued professional growth, and their advanced degrees. It is no less than we deserve, and it is what the continued viability of the profession and the success of our public educational system demands. I apologize for my digression into public school advocacy, but I got to use every opportunity that I get this year. Now, thankfully, there were other factors still weighing upon my career reasoning. Chief among them were the exceptional teachers I was fortunate enough to learn from throughout my public education. These teachers supported my talents and allowed me the grace of trial and error and maturation that every child deserves. They met me where I was while simultaneously showing me where I could go. They nurtured my innate curiosity. They fostered the development of my voice and personal perspective. They held me to high expectations, challenged me with rigorous curriculum, and most importantly, they welcomed the insight of my cultural and lived experience into my learning journey. While we teach and serve individual children, it is imperative that we honor, acknowledge, and incorporate the families and communities they come from into their learning. When we celebrate and affirm diversity in our learners, we acknowledge that every student has their unique strengths, challenges, and learning styles. We must embrace differentiation and cultural relevance and responsiveness in our teaching. And we must regularly audit our systems and practices for instructional and cultural equity. This includes storied institutions like the North Carolina Governor's School. It is in these culturally relevant conversations and discussions that we create the network of support that is critical to high achievement and personal development for every child. I firmly believe that what you learn directly influences what you believe is worth learning. And who you learn from directly influences who you believe you can learn from. Take another moment and think about your educational journey again. Who were your teachers? Who weren't your teachers? Who and what did you learn about? What voices and perspectives were present and which were absent in your learning journey? How did these factors influence your vision of the world? How did these factors shape your view of yourself and what you could achieve? Patterns create norms, and experiencing, appreciating, and most importantly, learning from and about diverse experiences, perspectives, and insights is critical for all students and all people who wish to succeed and serve in an ever diversifying world. Specifically, students from underrepresented populations need and deserve to see themselves and their cultures and identities positively reflected and affirmed in their learning communities and in their learning content. Far too often, our underrepresented students only see the consumable aspects of their cultures acknowledged. Through this surface acknowledgement, kids are taught that the best parts of their culture are only those that can be consumed by others: their food, their music, their dance, their fashion. We must be committed to the representation, incorporation, and affirmation of diverse students and their identities in all aspects of teaching and learning. I am immensely proud of the intentional and continual strides the Governor's School has made to pursue equity, inclusion, and diversity in all aspects, from staffing and curriculum to leadership and outreach. I've witnessed firsthand the Governor's School distinguish itself as a learning community that welcomes, embraces, and elevates the voices and perspectives of students from all backgrounds, beliefs, and perspectives. Now, this cultural responsiveness is not limited to cultural or ethnic identities. The Governor's School program has always prioritized geographical diversity and brought together bright minds from every region and corner of our state. I'm proud to have grown up in a rural mill town in Harnett County, but it was very easy, and it remains very easy for students from rural and far-reaching communities to feel isolated or undervalued in the landscape of North Carolina education. Governor School confronts this reality head on, and our campuses are made all the better for it. While success is a powerful motivator, few students will wish to pursue it if they believe that they have to abandon or constantly mask their regional or cultural identities, their practices, their language, their cuisine, their beliefs, or quite simply, their dialects. You wouldn't believe the years I needlessly spent working to hide the long eyes that were an immediate signal of my sandhill roots. I'd spend hours in the mirror saying, night, not night, light, not light, and my personal arch nemesis, Sprite, not Sprite, all in an effort to sound intellectual, or at least what I had been told intellectual sounded like. Governor School was one of the first academic settings in which I felt safe to bring my full self into the room and know that my perspective would be welcomed, valued, and amplified by my classmates and my teachers. This welcoming of diverse experiences creates an environment that encourages understanding, tolerance, and collaboration. In a time where our society is becoming increasingly interconnected, the ability to navigate diverse landscapes and work effectively with people from all walks of life is an invaluable skill. The Governor School prepares its students not just for college, but for a global society that demands adaptability and cultural competence. Now, by the end of my public school education, particularly after my summer at Governor School in the summer of 2000, my concept of education and educators had been completely altered. Through my Governor School experience, I came to understand that education could be more than a mere amassing of facts for reproduction or application on an assessment. I discovered that learning, and moreover, that teaching as an art, has the power to open minds, and in doing so, change lives. It was also at this point that I first read the Holocaust memoir Night in an English class, and I encountered a passage that would stay with me for the rest of my life and guide not only my work as a Holocaust educator, but as a teacher at large. Early in the memoir, Elie Wiesel meets a transient man named Moishe, who becomes his religious mentor. In chapter 1, Elie writes, Moishe explained to me with great emphasis that every question possessed a power that was lost in the answer. Man comes closer to God through the questions he asks him, Moishe liked to say. Therein lies the true dialogue. Man asks, God replies. We don't understand his replies. We cannot understand them because they dwell in the depths of the soul and remain there until we die. The real answers, Eliezer, you will only find within yourself. And why do you pray, Moishe? Elie asked him. I pray to the God within me for the strength to ask him the right questions. Aside from any specific spiritual connotations, in that quotation, I recognized for the first time what my very best teachers, especially those I studied with at Governor School, had done for me. They'd fostered the tenacity of my curiosity. They prompted an authentic quest for knowledge through thoughtful, dynamic, open-ended questions that allowed me and all the different learners in the classroom to approach inquiry from an authentic place and to pursue not only factual conclusions, but personal and interpersonal development. It is for these reasons that I continue to employ the Governor School pedagogies in my own classroom via seminars and other forms of collaborative learning. It is crucial to not only the academic, but also the social and emotional growth and development of all of our students to be presented with rigorous and dynamic questions from diverse perspectives that teach them about the world, themselves, and each other. In my classes, we learn and employ the standard skills of English comprehension, annotation, analysis, and academic research, but we do so by researching and interrogating historically and socially relevant questions. I teach because I fundamentally believe that through education, the past does not have to be a prologue. Students can be educated and empowered to build a better, more just world. However, this is not just some passive inevitability. In the words of the great writer and civil rights activist James Baldwin, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. We must build and support intentional curriculum and institutional norms that allow and urge our students to move from simply acquiring knowledge of difficult or complex truths to acting upon them. Governor School is a model for empowering students while imbuing them with a sense of social, interpersonal, and intellectual responsibility to make our world better. Knowledge for knowledge's sake is never the goal. As gifted students with gifted minds, our students are also charged to use those gifts to make their worlds, their futures, and the futures of those around them better. And they are supported in this work at every turn by committed faculty who truly believe that these students will change the world. Every summer, our students continue to prove that. They lean in to challenging curriculum and tough questions, and they prove year after year that they are not content with the status quo, that they will be the architects of change, the inquisitors challenging the norms, and the visionaries shaping the future. As vital members of the Governor School community, our teachers and staff present learners with meaningful questions grounded in the social, political, moral, economic, artistic, scientific, health, and environmental issues they will face in the real world, while allowing them the safety of our classrooms to begin to responsibly consider their role in addressing them. One of the best ways that Governor School faculty support students' intellectual, social, and emotional growth is by making their classrooms a place where inquiry and questioning are welcome. Far too often, our young people are told that their voices are inconsequential and their questions are a nuisance. In the pursuit of evidence of learning, teachers can very often snuff out the truest catalyst for learning: curiosity. In a society that is growing ever more siloed into chambers of homogenous ideas and confirmation bias, it is imperative that educators and educational communities like Governor School guide and model for our students healthy, respectful, and factual dialogue and discourse. Governor School, in particular, is uniquely positioned to guide its students towards the pursuit of knowledge, even as they observe a world where the path of ignorance seems easier, broader, more populated, and full of easy answers to complex problems. Governor School guides its students toward knowledge through the personal modeling of continued intellectual enrichment and, moreover, vulnerability by its faculty and staff. One of the hallmarks of Governor School is the way in which faculty and staff join students in a collective interrogation of meaningful, albeit complex, and at times intimidating realities and challenges. And this collaboration is not simply an encouraged practice, it is the sustaining cornerstone of our growth and relevance as a school. How can we as educators ask students to rise to academic or moral challenges if we ourselves attempt to operate from a place of intellectual or emotional avoidance? How can we ask or expect anyone to move from moral bystander to upstander if we ourselves hide from inconvenient or unsettling truths? We can't. And so, Governor School faculty every summer leave the comfort of their classrooms and offices, and they actively seek the assistance, advice, and input of students, colleagues, and other Governor School community members. Collaboration lies at the heart of Governor School. When we come together, we merge our unique strengths, perspectives, and experiences to create a network of knowledge and support for our students and each other. Teaching and learning were never meant to be isolated endeavors. At its very core, education is a matrix of ideas and a cooperative effort that can and should inspire growth in every student. Governor School exemplifies this understanding in every aspect. The North Carolina Governor School is more than just an educational institution. It is a crucible for the leaders, thinkers, and innovators of tomorrow. I am beyond thankful for the continued role it has played in my life since that transformative summer in the year 2000. As we celebrate the achievements of the students who have passed through its doors and anticipate the incredible contributions they will make, let us recognize the enduring impact that the Governor School has made on the fabric of our state and our world. It has been and continues to be a beacon of inspiration, a catalyst for growth, and a testament to the limitless potential that resides within the young minds of North Carolina. I am beyond proud to be part of the legacy of our first 60 years, and I'm excited to witness the glory of our next 60. I thank you for joining in the celebration of this transformational program. The unique and substantial ways you have contributed to its legacy, and most importantly, for the sacred gifts of your time and attention this afternoon. Thank you.
So I think everybody will probably agree with me about two things. One, it's pretty obvious why Kim is our North Carolina Teacher of the Year, right? And I think it would have been pretty cool to be on her front porch learning from her back in the day. That's probably better than what I was doing playing with my Star Wars toys, for sure. So we do have a very small token of our appreciation, one of our wonderful gray Governor School t-shirts here. And of course, the biggest thing that I hope all of you took away from Kim's speech is how Governor School changed her and how it's changed all of you and all of us. That's what Governor School is, right? And the wonderful thing about it is it probably changed Kim in a different way than it changed me, than it changed John, or changed Henry, or changed Will. That's why Governor School is so cool. It doesn't change everybody in the same way, but it changes everybody for the better. And so we're extremely excited to have Kim here today. She's going to be with us, I think, for the rest of the time. So please come up and talk to her and ask her questions. And I'm sure she'd be happy to take any questions now. Does anybody have any questions?
So Lee made a good point about how going to school changed you. Can you think of one thing that you do in your classroom, maybe different, I was a teacher also, that made you a different teacher from your other colleagues, and in that way, going to school has changed the students that you have?
Absolutely. So when I went to governor school, I had a very direct vision of what my future would look like, specifically like where I was going to go to college. I was applying to all these other places, but Duke was the only school that existed in my horizon. When I, when I went to governor school, Dr. Milner was director at Governor School East, and he sat in on an English class one day. And after that class, he came up and he was like, Kim, I enjoyed being in class with you today. What are your plans for next year? And I told him, not like, oh, I'm going to go to college. I was like, I'm going to go to Duke. And he was like, well, that's great, Kim. Have you thought about Wake Forest? And I was like, no, because I'm going to Duke. And he said, again, that's lovely. I'm sure you'll do great there, but I'd love it if you consider Wake Forest, because our university could use great minds like yours. And in that moment, he opened a door that I didn't know existed. And I don't mean to go to Wake Forest, which I ended up doing, and they paid for it, so wonderful. But it was the first time someone had said to me, not, hey, you have the right answer, or, oh, you made a really good score on this test. It was the first time someone said to me, you have a great mind. And I believed it. It made me believe that I had something unique to contribute to an academic community. And that's what I've taken into my classroom. That my kids can fail my class and I will love them forever. They can pass my class with a 4.0 and I'm not particularly fond of them. But I want them to know that in each one of them is a great mind with a unique perspective that has the potential to contribute to an academic community. And Governor School goes with that. Ooh, so sorry. Any other questions? Yes.
So I am also a teacher.
Yay!
I don't know if you remember me, but I met you at Wake Forest
Yay!
last year. And I love the education program. As a young teacher in a young space, who went to governor school and who just was fed on the curiosity, that drive that you spoke has transformed us all. I wonder how you have found, either through engaging with your colleagues or your students, how to bring that spirit of curiosity to students and friends and colleagues who may be leaning more towards what looks to us as academic.
Absolutely. It starts with curiosity on my part about who my kids are. Like before we get to the content, and content is like my drive. I'm a teacher, you got to learn things. It begins with a spirit of curiosity about who you are and what you bring to the table. And once I open that door that I care about you, the human being, like I'm going to ask like, oh, tell me about that sticker on your Nalgene. Tell me about, I came to your wrestling match. What was that hold called? Or, oh my God, where did you get those shoes? Or, why, tell me about that haircut. I'm going to open the door of curiosity in relationship building. And then when I ask questions, I'm asking questions that I truly don't know the answer to, which means, some work on my part. But I'm like, hey, y'all, why is this relevant? Why is Oedipus relevant in 2023? And I don't have the answer to that. Like, that's not one of those pre-forma, fill in the blanks with the answers I've told you are acceptable. I'm constantly evaluating my curriculum to go, hey, is this still relevant for me to teach? Tell me why, yes or no. And every single one of you all has an answer to that. It's not a yes, it is, and here are all the reasons why you told. You might say no and give me a beautiful reason to go, you know what, I'm abandoning Sophocles next year. I have to create in my classroom a place where curiosity can drive. Like, Why do you think I did this? Help me evaluate some of my pedagogy. Building that sense of safety, because curiosity requires safety. We stop asking questions the day we're told we can no longer ask them. That's just the way things are. When we as adults begin to shut doors to children's questions, the first time you're told no because I said so, that shuts a door. And it's my duty to pry that door open and say, it's safe for you to even question me. Like, hey, Ms. Jones, why do we have to do this? And I might, talk about standards. I might lay it back on because this is school policy. I might lay it on safety, but I'm always willing to ask that question. You may not love the answer, but you're allowed to ask the question. And so I've got to make my classroom safe for you to trust that you're allowed to ask questions. And then I've got to model it by being curious about you and the world as well, and being willing to change my own thinking. The greatest way for our kids to understand what questioning looks like is to see it. Thanks. Great question. All right.
So thank you again to Kim, and let's give her one more big round of applause.